how important that was to show up looking your best self.
I was bullied as a child.
It took about 2 years for you to.
Coming into Hollywood, I had a lot to prove.
Is the skincare for men, women, both?
Suitable for both men and women.
Hyaluronic acid is fantastic for anti-aging. So let's talk about your style.
I stopped trying to dress cool. I don't want my clothes to wear me.
So how did that build your confidence?
Thing that I was kind of born with.
I hear there's rumors of John Tucker Messiah too.
There's a script that was developed.
Hi, if you don't know me, my name is Celeste Moore. I'm a certified image consultant, and I help entrepreneurs, speakers, and influencers really discover and master their own unique style so that they can command presence in any room and any stage that they walk onto. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Jesse Metcalfe. Yes, the one and only actor, entrepreneur, and musician. From heartthrob actor to skincare founder, Jesse Metcalfe is showing us what it really means to redefine your image from the inside out. It all started with his mom, a stylish hairdresser, who taught him how to look and how it affects how you feel. Jesse's passion for clean living, style, and self-care started early thanks to his mom, who worked as a hairdresser now, and he's channeling all that is into his brand new skincare line, NUTRL, and living a healthy lifestyle that's all about authenticity, wellness, and great taste. Thank you, Jesse, for joining us today.
I'm really happy to be with you, Celeste. It's nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. I want to just say a quick shout out to Timothy Hancock, Deluxe Version magazine, guys. Look at Jesse in this beautiful front cover that was out just like 2 months ago. So I just wanted to give a shout out to our friend who connected with us.
Tim's a great guy.
Yeah,
Tim's a great guy and great at connecting people. Yeah.
So good. Yes. So
he speaks very highly of you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, same. So let's start with your mom, if you don't mind. She's a hairdresser and really cared about style. And she was the one who educated you and showed you how important that was to show up looking your best self.
Yeah. Well, my mom raised me herself for a certain period of my adolescence, and I had a pretty challenging adolescence. I had acne as a teenager. I was bullied as a child. Some of those traumas in my early formative years really shaped me, for better or for worse. And a lot of times for worse. I had a bit of a chip on my shoulder, coming into Hollywood. I had a lot to prove. But with that said, there was definitely an emphasis on skincare and wellness in my household growing up. I did have acne, as you mentioned. My mom would take me to an esthetician. I'd get bi-weekly facials, and I used a lot of different products. I became familiar with acids, glycolic acid and hyaluronic acid at a pretty young age. I was using very expensive sort of high-end products at like 12 or 13 years old. I mean, for anyone who suffers from acne, it can really erode your confidence, and it did a number on me, as a teenager. But I sort of carried that education that I got during that turbulent time into adulthood, and I always maintained a pretty stringent skincare regimen. And that's sort of what led to me starting my own brand. Over the years, a lot of people would compliment my skin, which is flattering, and they were also often in disbelief when I would tell them my age. I'm 46, and people tell me that I look like I'm in my 30s, which is an amazing compliment. I don't know if I believe them necessarily, but I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that I've always had an emphasis on anti-aging products. So like I said, I've never had any Botox or any plastic surgery of any kind. I've never really done any invasive procedures like that. Certainly don't look down upon anyone who has, and maybe it is time for a little Botox, maybe around my eyes, my crow's feet area. But I have had a lot of success, you know, with a lot of these topicals, you know, specifically glycolic acid, hyaluronic acid. And that's sort of the genesis of me starting this product line. I wanted to do a super clean, simple, but effective product line. NUTRL Skin is the name of the product line. It's only 4 products right now, but they're really all you need. They're incredibly powerful, you know, lab grade formulas that are really anti-aging and can combat fine lines, and, you know, helps promote collagen production, and really plumps and firms the skin. And the effects are pretty immediate. I mean, I really believe in these products, and I think that you can see a difference in the texture of your skin immediately after using these 2 incredible serums that we have in this daily replenishing moisturizer that we have.
Ooh, I'm excited to try.
Thank you. Yes.
Because we all need to look younger, feel younger, and, you know,
Why
plump
not,
our skin.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, I heard that took about 2 years for you to like really be able to launch this. Is there?
Yes. It's taken 2 years to formulate the products.
Okay.
Build an incredible website. You know, on the latest design technology. It's built on JavaScript. You know, we wanted to retain all of that back-end information and not have any issues that one might have if they build a business on the Shopify platform. Not to say anything derogatory about Shopify, but I mean, they can, you know, if you have too many chargebacks, for instance, they can shut your business down. You know, so I think to do things the right way, you really have to have total control. You know, I'm a bit of a control freak, so I really took the time to develop this product and build out this business the right way.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
You know, it is your name on the product, and
it is my name after all.
So I understand you wanting to really make sure that it shines the way that you want it to and be presented. Now, is this skincare for men, women, both?
This is a unisex product line.
A non-gender?
It's non-gender, exactly.
Yeah, I love that.
It's for both men and women. I mean, there's not really much of a difference, you know, between men and women as far as skincare is concerned. I know that from a marketing perspective, people like to make that distinction, but I think that it speaks to the simplicity of the product line. I mean, that, you know, really these 4 products are all you need, and it's suitable for all skin types.
Oh, good.
And it's suitable for both men and women.
Okay, so whether you have acne, whether you have sensitive skin, whether you have anti-age, like
absolutely,
okay,
absolutely.
Great.
This product line is great for people with sensitive skin.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, hyaluronic acid is fantastic for anti-aging. So even that alone will really help, like you said, plump the skin.
Absolutely. Yeah. We are also in the anti-aging under eye serum, we have something called Matrixyl 3000, which is a peptide complex, which promotes collagen production and plumps the skin.
I am buying this.
Yeah.
I like to try all skincare, especially in my industry, right? I'm always helping my clients look good, feel good, and your skin is like your #1 biggest organ, and you only get it. Like, I grew up in South Florida. I've got wrinkles. Like, this was
you look amazing.
This was baby oil and no sunscreen.
Yes.
Okay, don't ever do that. But this was, you know, I'm 2 years older than you, so this was like sun in and baby oil.
It's amazing how much we've learned over the last few decades, and, and how much you know, the emphasis on skincare has really come to the forefront and sort of, you know, changed. I mean, the marketplace is just grown exponentially, you know, over the last couple of decades.
Right. So in your line, is there a like SPF, or is there something?
No, we don't have a sunscreen.
Okay.
As of yet, but I mean, this is definitely a brand that's going to grow, and we're going to add products.
Nice.
But I mean, there's a million sunscreens out there on the market, and I don't necessarily believe that there's a lot of room to improve sunscreen. You should use a strong sunscreen, that's for sure.
Yes.
I mean, there's definitely, you know, for me personally, and I think this maybe is something that's different for men, I don't like when a sunscreen sticks to my beard.
Oh yeah,
you know,
get that white look.
Yeah, I have a tendency to, like, I put the sunscreen on and then like my beard's white, and then I have to like go over my beard line with like a towel, you know, and wipe the sunscreen off. So I like a sunscreen that absorbs really well. You know, that's one of the main things. But I think if you're not using an SPF of, you know, 40 or 50, you're not really protecting your skin.
True.
So.
Okay, well, this is something that you get to create.
Absolutely. Yeah, I definitely think we will create a sunscreen at some point.
I'm putting you on the spot. You gotta create this.
Yeah, there's a lot of options. There's a
that.
lot of great options out there. And there's a lot of great product lines.
Yeah. So how does it feel to be an entrepreneur? Is this your first is this your first product ever?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
It's my first product that I developed from, you know, conception, you know, from start to finish. So I'll be honest with you. I mean, we launched this morning.
Yeah.
And,
wow.
you know, I cried.
Aww.
You know, it's been a really long process. I'm proud of what I've accomplished.
That's a big accomplishment.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. So I'm super excited.
And I think also the outpouring of support, you know, not just from my fans, you know, but from my friends and my family. I mean, I just like, people are really behind me.
Yeah.
You know, and I feel, it feels good. It feels authentic. You know, I've always maintained a really, you know, stringent skincare regimen. People have always asked me about my skin and about my skincare, and it feels right. You know, it just feels like sort of a natural progression. I remember when I announced this, you know, at actually a Clarins event. You know, Clarins, the skincare brand, has been incredibly supportive to me. And when I went to my first skincare event for Clarins, I was asked on the red carpet about skincare, and I told them that I had some interest in starting my own line, and a lot of outlets ran that. You know, like I think People Magazine ran it, that Jesse may start his own skincare line, and Us Weekly, and I did it.
Yeah. Good for you. Now I know what it takes to create something from start to finish, and that it takes like passion and purpose, and that sounds like what you've put into it.
Yeah, it definitely takes a lot of passion. It definitely takes a lot of focus. It also takes a lot of patience. And I think anything worth doing or having in this life takes incredible patience. Patience is not my strong suit. Patience is not one of my best characteristics. That's something that I have to really work on. Yeah.
Are you an instant guy? Are you like, it's kind of the world we live in.
I get frustrated.
Okay.
I get frustrated relatively quickly, and I have to remind myself to be patient, and that the world doesn't revolve around me, and that people are not on my schedule. People have other things going on in their lives. You know, it's about being understanding. It's about acceptance. And it's you know, patience is definitely a muscle that I need to work, to exercise.
Yeah. Oh, we're all working on ourselves, and if you're not, you should be, because I think continue to learn in life, right? I love that you incorporate, like, just on a side note there, you talk about how, you know, mind, body, and spirit, right? And it's something that you're very vocal about on Instagram or your other platforms. What has really helped you kind of center yourself, maybe before a big event, or maybe before something that's making you a little bit, you know, nervous, if you will?
Prayer and meditation.
Okay.
Is my go-to.
Yeah.
Is my go-to. Yeah. I mean, I have been through the program, you know, of the Alcoholics Anonymous. Yeah. Different periods of my life, I've struggled with alcohol a bit. And a lot of the things that I learned through that program, I've carried with me. Prayer and meditation being one of them. Writing gratitude lists being another. Having been in the entertainment industry for 25 years, having had a lot of things come easily to me. When I'm faced with challenges, I don't necessarily face those challenges gracefully all the time. And I really have to give my frustration over to a higher power. You know, I have to remind myself that I'm not running the show. You know, it's about faith. You know, I spoke about patience. The other side to that coin, I feel like, is faith, trusting that there's a divine design to your life, that there's something greater looking after you.
Yeah.
And that's pretty essential for someone like me who has a pretty strong will. You know, I can really get lost in myself, my passions, my desires, my wants. So I think, you know, giving it over to God through prayer, letting go of all of the things in our day-to-day lives, in the outside world that weigh us down, that control us. I do that through meditation. You know, constantly being on your phone, constantly being on social media, constantly being plugged into all of the drama that's going on outside there, going on in the outside world, all around us, all the time. It's toxic. I mean, it really is. You know, in small doses, it's manageable, but in larger doses, it's overwhelming. And it's really important to disconnect from that and reconnect to your spiritual center.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I love that. And actually, just in the last month, I hear a few billionaires speak, multimillionaires, and the one thing every one of them has in common is their spirituality. It's whether or not it's to a God, it's to the universe, but when you take that minute to meditate, well, hopefully more than 1 minute, but to meditate, it's when you get the downloads, because
The downloads.
downloads,
Exactly.
right? Because before that, we're like thinking of all the things, the blocks, the, you know, what's going on in our head, like you said, the everyday life. So it's taking that time to receive and just to be. And I think that's something I've started recently, and it's just taken me, I've tried many times, like I'm not gonna lie. It's one of the hardest things, I think, for me to shut off and to shut down, but it's been really great.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I can understand.
Essential.
Yeah, essential.
Especially if you're a person who functions on a high level, has a lot of things going on, wants to achieve a lot.
Yeah.
It's even more important for you to be able to decompress and center yourself on a daily basis.
Yeah.
You're just more effective afterwards.
Oh, yeah. You have more space.
Yeah.
For all the things. So let's talk about your style, because you look amazing today.
Thank you.
I think, in just my opinion, it looks like you have very like classic kind of, you know, maybe that John Hamm. That's all I can think of.
I love John Hamm. I love John Hamm.
And, you know, you just have a very like cool, elegant, chic, you know, style, but very classic.
Thank you.
Have you, like, has this always been your style?
You
Tell
know,
me
I've
about
been
your
leaning
evolution.
into a more mature look.
Okay.
As of late. Definitely in my 40s, but more so in the second half of my 40s. Over the last couple of years, I've stopped wearing anything trendy. I've stopped trying to dress cool.
Yeah.
I just feel like preppier, more classic clothing looks better on me. It just suits my look. I feel like it's a more authentic aesthetic for me, because I mean, I don't want my clothes to wear me. I want to wear my clothes.
Thank you.
You know, and it's like it's really an all-encompassing thing, being authentic. And I think that people receive you better when they feel a certain level of authenticity from you. And I just kind of want my clothing to be an extension of who I am, and also how I want to be perceived. I mean, not to say that I'm uber focused on how I'm being perceived all the time. I'd like to think that I'm comfortable in my own skin and I'm living in the moment. But I think it's important to have a certain level of awareness about how you're being perceived if you want to be effective.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So the first thing that people notice is color. It happens before anything else. So each color sends a message. So you can strategically send messages to your audience what you want them to feel about you. So it's really powerful.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I love
It's like if you're on trial for murder.
which we hope
might
nobody
want to wear white.
Right. You see everybody look like a little girl or like a young innocent boy. Yes. But I love that you really dial in and talk about authenticity, because it's a really, really what I focus on. And I think it's so great that you're here. Just like, I like to dress this way. This feels like me. And I want everybody to know.
No, I mean, I would love to work with you, Celeste. Honestly, I would love to do some consultations. Let's see what we can achieve together. And I mean, you mentioning that also reminds me of when we were talking in our pre-interview a bit about working with other stylists in the past. And sometimes I found when I worked with personal stylists that they put me in stuff that I just didn't feel comfortable in, and there's definitely a time and a place. If you're showing up for a specific designer, you're sitting front row at a show and they want you to wear something, you wear it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's only for that moment. It's not like you got to wear it all day. It's not like you got to wear it all, ever again. But I just felt like a lot of times I would really be paying top dollar to some of these top stylists in the industry. And I just felt like they didn't really get me. They didn't get me. They didn't get my aesthetic. And I would head out not feeling just 100% confident, and comfortable with what I was wearing. So I really started dressing myself. There was a period actually where I used to shop at Barney's New York a lot in Beverly Hills. And one day I just randomly walked into the PR department, and they ended up giving me, I don't know if the young girls in there thought I was cute. I don't know if they liked me or whatever, but they ended up giving me a pull account. I was an actual stylist. And I had it for 3 years until Barney's New York called me and was like, Are you a stylist? And I was like, no, I'm an actor. And they were like, well, we have no idea how you got this account, but we're gonna have to close it. And I mean,
awesome.
Literally, I was able, 3 years to pull $30,000 worth of clothes, and then I could keep a portion of it and pay for that portion without any kind of other restocking fee. I mean, it was amazing.
That's
so
great.
I was styling myself, through Barney's New York for 3 years.
Yes.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible.
Well, who knew later you would be giving them some cred, right?
Yeah, totally.
It's a great
I have
story.
no problem sharing that story.
That's awesome. I love that you just decided no, you know what? I know who I am and I want to just dress myself. There's nothing wrong with that. So how did that build your confidence?
I think that I've always had a good sense of style. Something probably that also came from my mom, but I also think it was something that I was kind of born with. I think it was pretty innate, in my chromosomes.
Yeah.
I always really cared about what I wore.
Yeah.
I mean, even when I was really young.
Yeah.
I mean, my mom would recount stories to me of me picking things out in the department store and saying definitively that I liked this or I didn't like that. And then, as an adolescent and into my teenage years, we would take the train either into New York City or into Boston and go to Harvard Square to do our school shopping. My clothes, the way I presented myself, my personal style, they were all very important to me growing up.
Yeah, I can relate. I started really young too. So I think there is something. There's the I give a shit gene. So Jesse, how'd you get into the industry of entertainment?
Okay, my first foray, I guess, into the world of entertainment would be as a model.
Okay.
I went to an open casting call um, to get a modeling agency in Hartford, Connecticut, when I was in high school.
Okay.
Actually, taking it further back, I did do some modeling jobs as a child. I was a child model for a period and was on some toy boxes and was in Highlights magazine, this children's sort of educational magazine. And then I sort of kind of hit my awkward years. And then in the middle of high school, I went to an open call to attempt to get a modeling agent. And I was selected by 3 different agencies and was then signed by a modeling agency called Zoli, which is a now defunct modeling agency that was in Manhattan. And I used to take the train into the city and do shoots for magazines like 17 Magazine, YM Magazine. I did some commercials. I went to Milan for Men's Fashion Week one winter, which was an insane experience for a small town Connecticut boy like me. But having gone back and forth to New York City, during high school, I decided that's where I wanted to be. It was a really kind of intoxicating place that just sort of like got under my skin. And I loved the energy there. I loved the creativity. So the only college that I applied to was New York University. And I applied to the Tisch School of the Arts, which encapsulates all of the acting and film and television production and writing programs at New York University. I didn't get in. I got into this new program called the Gallatin School. And after doing a semester in Gallatin and getting some good grades, I was able to transfer into Tisch. I had an incredible experience there. And that's where I took my first couple of acting classes, which were part of the film and television major. I wasn't even studying acting. I was studying writing and directing, film and television production, film history. It was a lot of fun. I had some really inspiring professors, one of which was an acting professor named Seth Glassman. And I took my first acting class with him, and we did an exercise where we walked around an empty chair and pretended that somebody was in that chair. Okay. But we didn't tell the other members of the class who was in that chair. And then you just kind of repeated the same line over and over again in hopes of pulling up some emotion, eliciting some organic response. And I had sort of a breakthrough during that exercise. Yelled, got angry, so if some emotion came out, teared up a bit, and I was like, "Ooh, I like this. I like the way this feels." Then I also got some nice praise from my professor, and I was like, maybe I could do this. So I had been doing some modeling. Maybe I could do some commercials. Maybe I could make some extra money. I definitely used my modeling career to subsidize me during my college years. Yeah. NYU is not cheap.
This I know.
So, lodging, books, everything you might need, as a college student, they were really expensive, and I came from definitely humble beginnings, a middle-class family at best, sometimes, earlier in my childhood, lower middle class. So I was blessed to have the opportunity to model and make some extra money. And I thought, well, maybe I could make even more extra money. And I went to just one commercial audition, and then I went to an open casting call for a soap opera that was casting countrywide. It was called Passions. It was this zany, supernatural, sort of cult classic soap opera that I ended up doing 5 years on, and was really where I learned to act. I was a terrible actor when I first started acting. I really did learn on the job. They just liked my look. They thought I fit into this half Irish, half Latin American family called the Lopez Fitzgeralds. Yeah, apparently, actually, and my mother reminded me of this. I had auditioned for this role of Luis, which is played by a dear friend of mine, Galen Gearing. But there was no role for me. I was too young for this role of Luis, who was a cop in this small town, this small fictional town of Harmony in New England. So they wrote another role for me. They wrote in a role for the younger brother, Miguel Lopez Fitzgerald, because they liked me. You know, they saw something in me. So I mean, I didn't even remember that.
Oh, wow.
I recently had a conversation with my mother, and she reminded me of that fact, and I just thought that was incredible. You know, that I was kind of destined to do this. You know, to have a career as an actor. So after doing 5 years on that show, I felt as though I could do more. I wanted to get on the prime time. A lot of my friends and family and coworkers on Passions were like, "Are you crazy? Like you're one of the stars of this soap. The soap's getting a lot of attention. You make a great living." And I was like, "No, I really want to go for it." And I did my first full pilot season, and I didn't get anything, you know, and I was like, whoa, like, what have I done? Like, I've walked away from this well-paying job and I haven't booked anything yet. And then right at the end of pilot season, 2 things happened for me. I got the opportunity to test for 2 different television shows, one of which was a show called Veronica Mars, and another one was called Desperate Housewives. There was something about the deal on Desperate Housewives that seemed a little bit more enticing. I think my representation felt that might be a better fit for me, that I had a better chance of actually booking that. So I went for Desperate Housewives. And back then it was not like one audition on tape and then you get the role. Like, you had to audition, and then if they called you back, then typically you had a call back, you had to audition again. And then if they wanted you to test for the role, it's called. So they kind of like get all the details of your deal in place, like what you're going to get paid, et cetera, et cetera. And they sort of have you sign off on it before even giving you the role. So when you go in for a test, you have to test for the studio and you have to test for the network. So you would have to audition in front of like 15, 20 people twice.
Wow.
So it's it was, and sometimes still is, but they don't really do this as much, a relatively, nerve-wracking process. But it went well. I ended up booking that role on Desperate Housewives. John Rowland, the teenage gardener who has this sexy, illicit affair with this married woman, Gabrielle Solis, played by Eva Longoria. And the rest is history. That role and being a part of that iconic television show really made me a household name.
Well, that's how I know you.
That was a lot.
No, I appreciate the backstory, because it's, people want to know these things. Right. Like, you don't just show up to set one day and you just are this big actor. You worked your ass off.
It's been a journey.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah. I love that. And then, okay, so another little sidestep here. One of my good friends who is much younger than me said, "Celeste, you've got to watch John Tucker Must Die." And I was like, what? I missed that little window from Desperate Housewives, I guess. I don't know how many years in between, was John Tucker Must Die.
John Tucker Must Die was actually
before or after?
I shot that right after the first season of Desperate Housewives.
Okay, that makes sense.
I was actually fired after the first season of Desperate Housewives.
What?
Yeah. So, the storyline between Eva Longoria and I was a pretty popular storyline.
Yes.
But it was a pretty difficult thing to maintain into further seasons.
Okay.
The show wasn't, just about this one affair. And I don't think they wanted Eva Longoria's character to be, boxed in to having to continue this affair with this teenager. Yeah. And they did bring me back in subsequent seasons, and my character had grown up a bit and had his own business and was still trying to get back together with Gabrielle. And the scenes were fun and interesting, but after the first season of the show, I was no longer a series regular. I was just a reoccurring character.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. Yeah. She told me to watch it. So I watched this right before this interview. And maybe I'm the only one in America that's never seen the movie, but now I have. So, this was like one of those. And then funny enough, I was at Fashion Week when you were just there at a different show. And I see this whole thing like, John Tucker is alive or something that's on your Instagram.
Right.
I was like, oh my God, that was so great.
Yeah,
So,
In Style posted that.
yes,
That little video.
it was.
Got a lot of traction.
So
I was there supporting my good friend Jonathan Simkai.
Nice. Yeah, I was. I just love going. I'm always there, just experiencing.
It's a great time. It's a great time. I mean, fashion shows are they're fun.
Yeah,
they're fun.
So I don't know if I'm supposed to say this, so we can cut this, but I hear there's rumors of John Tucker must die too.
No, we don't have to cut that. That's not top secret.
Okay.
I mean, it's definitely out there. It's definitely out there.
Okay.
I mean, there's a script. There's a script that was developed by one of my castmates, Ariel Kebbel.
Okay.
I've read the script. It's pretty good. It's over at 20th Century Fox. We announced that this project was in development last year. It got picked up by a lot of media outlets. Definitely seems like we're in a sort of Y2K moment right now where there's an interest in reviving some of these popular early to mid 2000 television shows and films.
Yeah.
We're certainly one of those. I mean, John Tucker Must Die was a pretty popular movie, and there seems to be an appetite out there to see a sequel. With that said, I don't know if it's going to happen. I've been consistently asked about this, about there being a sequel to John Tucker Must Die. So, and I would love to be a part of it. I think it would be fun, but I'm definitely not in control of it.
Gotcha.
You know, so sometimes things move a little more slowly than you would like them to, you know, in our business. But I think there's a good chance that it could happen.
Nice.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell, is there something that I missed? Is there something that's coming up for you that you want to share with the audience?
Well, I have a few independent movies coming out later this year. I have a movie premiering this coming Saturday, actually.
Congrats.
At the Beverly Hills Film Festival. It's called Comic Shop.
Okay.
Really small indie.
Yeah.
But people seem to like it. It's a very different character for me. It's a comic book store owner in a strip mall in Las Vegas who's a bit of an alcoholic, who's in the midst of a midlife crisis, who's sort of lost his inspiration. He had aspirations of being a famous comic book illustrator, didn't really pan out, and he ended up owning a comic book shop.
Okay.
So I had a lot of fun with this movie, actually. You know, I'm in basically every scene of the movie, and I feel like I could really relate to the character. It's kind of a lot of the things that we've already talked about. You know, when life challenges you or things don't go the way you anticipated that they would go, you can lose your faith. You know, you can lose your inspiration, especially as an artist. I've definitely had periods in my career where I've been there. You know, so it was kind of easy for me to tap into this character. But it's a really heartfelt, fun story, very relationship-driven movie with some really great comedic moments in it. It's pretty entertaining. Yeah, I'm pretty proud of it.
Great. I'm excited too.
Then I got a horror movie coming out called Possession at Gladstone Manor later this year, and another action comedy called Boris is Dead.
Oh.
Yeah. I just guest starred on Law and Order, which was so much fun for me. I had an incredible experience.
That's awesome.
I've always wanted to be a part of that world. I did do a procedural show. You know, they call these, you know, law enforcement shows or some of these medical dramas procedurals.
Okay.
And I did a procedural drama about U.S. Marshals back in the mid 2010s. It only lasted one season. But I always, I've always loved the idea of like playing someone in law enforcement or playing a detective. And this role that they gave me was just perfect for me. I played a sergeant named Danny DeLuca.
Nice.
Obviously an Italian-American. I'm an Italian-American. It was a very action-driven episode about the assassination of an insurance company CEO. So it's gotten a lot of attention. It also had an unresolved sort of open-ended ending where they did not get the verdict on the shooter. Caused some of the fans of the show a bit of frustration, but I think, you know, that was sort of the point, you know, that we wanted to sort of spark debate and conversation over a bit of a cultural issue, you know, that we're seeing right now. But it was a great episode to be a part of. I had a blast, and, you know, I'd love to be a regular fixture, obviously. I mean, that show just has such a, you know, storied history to it. A lot of incredible actors have guest starred and gone on to huge success. So
that's exciting.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm happy for you. So where can people find and purchase NUTRL?
You can find and purchase NUTRL on our website.
Perfect.
NUTRLskin.com.
And now you can purchase it.
It is now live.
Let's
it is now
do this.
available.
Yes. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being on the show today.
It's my pleasure.
And
Celeste.
it was such a pleasure speaking
great.
with you. And guys, go check him out. Are you most active on Instagram or where?
I'm probably most active on Instagram,
okay.
But I'm real Jesse Metcalfe on Instagram. Unfortunately, at the time that I came onto Instagram, I had to throw a reel on there because somebody already had my name.
Yeah.
I could probably get my name back, but at this point, what does it really matter?
Yeah.
So it's real Jesse Metcalfe on Instagram, real Jesse Metcalfe on TikTok, just Jesse Metcalfe on X. Yeah, those are all my platforms.
Go check him out. Go check out NUTRL. Go,
Please.
you know, watch his shows and his movies, and let's support Jesse.
Thank you.
You.
Yeah, my pleasure.